Unity through diversity is like a big party where everyone brings their own special dish, just like each dish has its own flavor. Each person has their own unique gifts and qualities. On our podcast, we will be breaking bread with guests who are dishing out their own personal stories and sharing us just how delicious diversity can be. So put on your dancing shoes, grab a fork and knife, and let's celebrate unity through diversity in style. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Unity Through Diversity. And this morning, I'm at Grayling at Artisan Village and interviewing Terry Dickinson. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning to you.
Yes. So I have been waiting for this moment for quite a few months, and I'm so grateful. And Monday morning, we are here, and I can have a conversation with you. Will you kind of just brief tell us a little bit, where you're from, like where you were born and raised, and just brief a hi to everybody, and then we're gonna dive into the conversation. I have a whole list of questions for you here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was born in Greenville, Michigan, down by Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Lived the first 6 years of my life on a farm. And then my father decided that he needed to go into the ministry. So we moved to Spring Arbor, where he could get his religion training and ministerial training. And then our first circuit was Central Lake, which is just 50 miles or less from Grayling. And then we moved to Traverse City, then we moved to Mansalona. It's all up in the northern part of Michigan. I graduated from Mansalona, then went to Central Michigan University, got a degree in math and physics. From there, I started teaching in Bay City.
Okay. Math, so what you're teaching in Bay City? Math and physics?
Mathematics.
Okay.
Yes.
So help us to connect the dots a little bit, because the reason actually got me here is because of your extraordinary mural painting back 50 years ago. So can you tell us a little bit about how you, from teaching math and physics to painting murals?
It was a transition of necessity. Mm-hmm. I had taken an interim position working with teens that were in trouble with the court system. Mm-hmm. Spent a couple of years in that position, and then that program ran out of money, so I had to move on. Picked up a teaching position at All Saints. Mm-hmm. And I taught there for 2.5 years, and then they were running into some financial issues. So I needed some occupation. Mm-hmm. At that point in time, school systems were not hiring teachers with experience because of the pay scale. They had to honor the experience, so you come in at 7 or 8 years of experience and you're near the top of a pay scale. It's much cheaper to hire at the bottom of the pay scale.
Yeah.
So the prospects of getting another teaching job was slim. Mm-hmm. And I had done a couple of commissions for the Historical Society, painting the backdrop for some displays. Mm-hmm. And one of the ladies at the Historical Society was talking about the upcoming bicentennial. So this is 1974, mm-hmm. bicentennial coming in 1976, and that the city of Bay City was not actively pursuing mm-hmm. anything to celebrate that event. And she suggested the idea that some of the vacant buildings and blighted buildings could be painted with murals.
Yes.
So I went to the Downtown Development Authority and floated the idea. I could sense a great deal of excitement about the concept, mm-hmm. and we were doing okay until the question came up, how many of these have you done?
Yes.
And the answer was, I haven't. This is an idea. This is where we're headed. Well, that was in the spring.
Of 1976?
Spring of 74.
74, okay.
And I didn't hear from them. So in the fall of 74, I talked to the Pontiac dealership because he had the most visible wall right on the loop, right at the base of the bridge. Showed him a proposal. It was an image of the Liberty Bell with the words that are on the Liberty Bell spelled out beside the image. It was 100 foot by 25 foot, 20 foot, whatever a two-story building is.
Yep.
And
I think it's 120 by 20, is it?
Huh?
Is it 120 by 20?
Yeah, it would be right about there, yeah.
Because you know why I know? Because I found an article MLive did 10 years ago with you. And I literally found that picture you were talking about with the words things, and that's the number I got from.
Yep, and that was the first mural. My agreement with them is I would not charge them any labor if they would pay for the materials.
Yeah.
That wall was in such bad shape and required so much concrete patching, plaster, that kind of stuff. It ended up being one of the most expensive murals that I did. And I didn't charge any labor. It was just materials. We put in about 900 pounds of patching concrete to try to fill in around the bricks.
So you know the first one is always, like the first mural I'm doing right now, I'm learning so much because I had no idea the things that I did not know. So when I get into it, I was like, oh, you have a brush painting and a spray painting that I need to order too, or get different sponsors. And oh, you guys charge by square foot right now. This was gonna more than $20,000 if I need to pay full commission to the mural artist. I was like, I don't have 20,000. I have 5,000.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm laughing. It's like, oh my goodness, the first wall is usually make you grow so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, by the time I finished that first wall, I had 5 more commissions that I was able to start in the spring of 75.
So, okay, you literally answered probably 3-4 of my questions here. So I know that, sometime when the conversation flow, that would go. So during your first mural painting, besides, not aware or we are learning, we need more materials than ever do. Did you ever encounter any, different voices in the community or challenges? What are some challenges you faced in your first mural painting or first couple walls?
Well, the biggest challenge was finding the right material. Finding material that was going to stand up to the weather and particularly not fade quickly. And actually that took a few years to figure that out. I started out using one-shot sign paint. That turned out not to be as fade resistant as some of the other that I discovered later. But
so now the paint we use is after 50 years of involvement, we definitely have. Our mural artists would connect me with. I ask them what are some brands you guys use that have good results, and give me different price range because I didn't know much of things. I paint mural in my house, which doesn't really fade anyway, right? It's indoor, so they actually gave me a lot of the knowledge of what kind of paint that I should or could use, depends on the price wise. But I mean, I cannot imagine. But I only can imagine how hard it was 50 years ago when you start to testing different, especially when we just step into that, right? You didn't have the painting experience. But then, is that true that I read on the news that you paint around 52 murals in Bay City and Essexville? Did you how many years of period of time you finish those paintings?
1 year.
In 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay, you would help. Will you help
Well,
us?
about a year maybe a year and a few months, because I started in 75.
Yes.
In the spring, and ended in 76 on July 4th.
Okay, so I mean, brief us a little bit, or share with us how can you paint the 52 murals in literally what, a year and a
Year and a couple of months. Yeah.
Yeah, so how the things you're pacing out? I mean, it sounds like it's such a big project. It is a very project.
It is a big project.
So how these things line up for you, and did you paint with somebody else, or you just by yourself?
I started out trying to hire a college student to help. After a couple of attempts at that wasn't working. I couldn't. It was interesting because I'd look at their portfolio, and they really had good portfolios from the college and so forth, but they couldn't scale it up. They couldn't go from a 16 by 20 inch to a 16 by 20 foot and get the perspective right. And for whatever reason, I think partly the math background.
Yes, coming handy now, huh?
Yeah, it really helped me with those scales, those proportions. The other blessing, if you will, is I typically was able to execute a section and not have to go back to it to adjust it most of the time. So I could attack a 16 by 20 foot wall and have it done in 3 days.
All by yourself?
Yes.
That's incredible, because of the 52. So before we move on to next step, actually I'm gonna ask you another question. So the first mural you said is just words, right? Like on the big wall, that 120 by 20. Is this something that the ideas did the building owner share with you what he wants, or you present the idea to him, and did he say anything when like in that situation?
I usually presented the ideas. I usually generated the ideas based on what the wall was presenting.
Okay, so
for example,
yes.
there was a little wall section that they had boarded up some windows and doors, and then there was maybe 8 or 10 foot clear space. So what I was able to do there was to use the window and door as part of a building in the painting, and just incorporate it, the door partly open with someone peeking out, and then in the clear space, Paul Revere riding down the street, the British are coming, the British are coming. So I tried to use the architectural features of the building as the starting point of the creativity. And then I would present the idea to the building owner.
Yeah. So the first was design. I saw a picture of that. So where that design come from? Like, what inspired you to have? It
was just the most iconic feature of the Independence Day. That.
Okay.
That's all. And it was also an easy image.
Okay, yeah.
It's not that complicated to paint a bell.
Right, not your first mural you're going to with, some complicated design is put yourself in the trouble. I mean,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking back, right, your time in Bay City and Essexville, can you recount a memorable story from your mural paintings those days, that a year and a couple months in Bay City and Essexville? What are some memorable stories?
Well,
or funny one, or hey Gina, I haven't told other people about this.
One of them, is that and the building that I painted on is no longer there, but it was one of the buildings that had a doorway that had been boarded up,
Yeah.
or it was a block wall. So the doorway had been filled in with block or brick or something of that nature.
Yeah.
It was no longer there, but you could see the indentation.
Yes.
So I repainted the wall and included in that section a doorway partly open.
Yes.
So the story is a couple of people actually ran into the wall trying to walk into the door. You know, it was late evening, so the lighting was just a little compromised. They didn't realize, and somebody told me the story because they saw it happen where somebody actually ran into the wall.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
And then another story is I was working on the what was at that time the Sears Roebuck building, and doing a image of the railroad station where Sears started his business, basically selling watches to people that were coming through the rail station. And I had just finished, and we got hit with a thunderstorm, and the whole mural was colored, the sidewalk and the gutters. It was gone. I had to start the next day all over again. There was hardly a color left on the wall. That rain just pelted it all night long.
Oh my goodness.
It was gone by morning.
So how did you feel that time?
It was, oh my God, I got to do this all over again.
So when you do second time, did you make any changes? You're like, maybe Universal say, hey, that's great, but I think you can do better.
Yeah. It probably came out better. You know,
you had
typically.
a second chance, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is something that maybe now you look back now, you can kind of summarize that. So the question is like, is there any specific messages or theme were you aiming when you were painting the murals that time? Because, you know, Bay City and Essexville, they are so close to each other. And with your background at that time, math and, you know, the physics, and those murals are the first year half of your painting experience. Did you have a, maybe not, maybe you just like, this building deserves this, that. That's why now looking back, do you feel like what was the theme, or if there any?
Well, what made it doable for me, because at that time I would not really call myself an artist. I was a copyist.
Copyist, okay.
So I could take an image, an already existing image, and expand it, make it big. I knew how to do that.
That's what I'm doing right now. That's why people say, are you an artist? I was like, on some degree, I probably is, but I don't call myself, because if you give me that picture, say, Gina, paint that with different, I probably can make it happen. So that's me right now. You can't just like, design something, and I'm not there yet. I'm just,
yeah. And that's where I was when I started. I could copy somebody else's work and pick up on their technique and whatever, but I wasn't in a position yet as an artist to have my own, quote, style or my own composition.
Yeah.
So what I relied on was the library. And go to the library, find a picture of Paul.
Yeah, you don't have a Google that time.
Paul Revere. Yeah, we didn't have Google then. We had to go to the library, pick up, a picture of Paul Revere if that's what was going to go on the building, or Sam Adams or whatever.
Yeah.
Now some of the businesses, like when I did there was a whole series of paintings on the Davidson building.
Yeah.
And those were all local history relating to the Davidson family. So there were pictures of the tugboat, and the story behind that was he was down on his luck and he had run out of cash. he had to actually steal his own tugboat because it had been locked up by the authorities. So he went in at night, stole his tugboat, went out and helped bring in a couple of ships, got enough money to pay off the lien, that kind of thing. So those stories got depicted. But again, they had the photographs. It was just we're going to copy this photograph in this space. And but that was kind of the theme. It was historic. It was events either in Bay City or national events that were taking place during the the centennial or the original.
That's beautiful. So again, I shared with you at the beginning, I just moved to Bay City 2 years. Do you know how many of the mural you painted still in Bay City or all gone?
I think there may be...
Because it's 50 years, you think about it.
2 or 3.
Where? Do you know where? Because people want to find it.
One of them, I think, I'm not sure what alley you're working with.
I'm working with MDL. MDL, on the Center Avenue, the city market, just the library, the city market, the pawn shop with that Mark Luminous, that's the building owner of the MDL. He put a bigger MDL on the corner. I don't know what was the building before, but that was the building. The eagle, that's a bigger eagle painted next to, that's the building next, literally cross street of that. Yeah.
There's an alley that runs north and south, just off from Washington. It's in the first block off from the expressway bypass, whatever that US, whatever that is, that runs across the bridge. At the time that I did it, the storefront facing Washington was a photography shop. So the image on the alley side was a black and white image of a camera obscura that was used to trace whatever, it had a big black cloth that would go over the artist, and he would trace the image that was coming through the lens and the prism. I think that one is still there. I don't know for sure. It's been a few years since I've been down there.
Well, I'm going to invite the people in Bay City to go find it because,
and then the other one that I think is still there is the ugliest mural that ever got painted in the world. And it was supposed to be an image of Betsy Ross stitching the flag. And it was done on the side of, at that time, the business in there was a fabric store.
Yes.
So that was why we chose that image for that store.
Why is the ugliest?
She looks like a homeless man. I mean, actually, that was one of the images that I had a student attempt. And once it was on there, no matter how hard I tried, I could not get that adjusted so that it actually looked like a woman. It was just butt ugly.
Oh my goodness. Sometimes as an artist or as a creator of certain things, when we can just say, hey, one of the work that actually I did my best, but it turned out this way, then that's, Okay, so you are talking about the ugliest, so we're talking memorable moments. So when you were unveiling those murals, what was the reaction at the beginning? Maybe first 1 or 2. What's the reaction of the community? And then later, you did it. People's like every month or every week, every other week. 52. How many weeks of a year? So basically, every week you were producing.
Yes.
How do you do even in winter time? Or you don't do it winter time
No.
Michigan. So you were producing probably 2 murals a week, sometimes busy, or 3.
Yes.
So how's the community reaction when you just started it and then a year or a couple months later you had 52? How's the change of the community reaction?
I really don't know how to answer that. There were a lot of, there was a lot of press coverage during that time.
Yes.
Bay City Times, I don't know how many articles they did.
Yes.
But they did quite a few. One of the paintings was right across from the Bay City Times office, so they came out, shot pictures as painting progressed. That was probably the second worst mural.
Are we ranking down the, like, we're not talking the top 3 best, we're talking top 3 worst. Okay, all right, basically, people, you guys hear that, okay? Why that one's the second worst?
Again, the figure, it was, and I never quite got the figure right. It just was awkward looking.
So who provided you the image? Or where did you find
I
it?
probably found it somewhere. I usually found the images,
Yes.
presented it to the owner. Sometimes the owner would ask me to do a preliminary drawing to show him how the
Yes.
drawing would end up. Most of the time I didn't have time for that. If I just wanted to get on the wall, get it done. There was a period of time when I was using a chalk line.
Yes.
And I would snap a 1 foot grid, and then draw a inch by inch grid on the preliminary, and then I could scale from there. But at the same time, even though I'm working within a grid, get back across the street and look at it, and I can see that it's off. But get back up on the wall, and I'm looking at it from an odd angle. There were some of them, those, particularly the human figure.
Yes, I was going
because
to ask you,
everybody knows what a human being's supposed to look like. And when it doesn't, it's like, ugh, that's ugly.
I think, you know what, because from what we looking right now is the artists right now have so many tools to help them to make the creation. Now the mural artists, I mean, they use projector, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you can literally stand far away and trace it out. I think it made their work much easier. And we're talking about 50 years ago. First of all, you don't have Google. Second of all, I don't think we have projector. Maybe we have, but you have very limited tools to help to make you to support you. And human, because we are human, you sometimes you look at the picture, you know that something is off, and you don't know how to fix it, but you know something is off.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, the challenge of that time. Now so I just want to tell the audience, just because we are talking about the ugliest or second worst, but we're gonna need to talk about the difficulties of technology at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? With right now, you easily, it's not that hard for now, but that time it's really hard, especially the wall is super big. Like I don't even know, like if I don't have any projector, I have no idea. Like because you had a proportion, everything is so difficult. So do you have the besides this one? So how's the community reaction? Because obviously now, right, the community, especially you can tell because you're still very connected with the Tri-City area. Midland, Saginaw, they definitely have a lot of mural going on in the community. And at Bay City, I think we are starting to have more, but I feel like even though I was not from Bay City, but when I got to know your story, read about your story, I was like, if he can do 52 that time, we are not trying to do 52 or whatsoever. We just want to do as nonprofit because funding, everything's cost so much right now. If every year we can do 2 or 3 big walls in the community, by 10 years, I'm not trying to. We have so many different projects going on, but the reaction from the community, we feel like they are more of welcoming, not say welcoming, they are getting excited to have public arts come back. And, funding is another thing we try to figure out. But that time, I don't know, because when I ask people how many people know Mural City, literally nobody. And until one day I went to the Rotary Club to speak about this festival and ask the same question. And actually in that room have 6, 7 people know because why? Because they are much older.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, back to that time, people, I try to bring their memory back because they need to be, 60 years old, 60, 70 years old now
Yeah.
to even remember
Yeah.
the nickname, right? So can you talk about that and how did we get the Mural City nickname and, how was the reaction of the community at that time?
Well, that was the Mural City concept was a promotional concept that came out of the Downtown Development Authority. And that was not my concept. Now, what they did do was commission me to build a float,
Yes.
parade float. And they ran the parade float in 76, 77, 78. And ended up with a room full of trophies, and then sold the float. Grayling bought the float. That's what brought me to Grayling.
Okay.
So there were 3 people from Grayling that went down to Bay City,
Yeah.
into the storage barn and looked it over. They got in touch with me because the float had images of the centennial theme.
Yeah.
They needed images of woods and trees and animals and so forth, so the float needed to be repainted. I think Grayling ran that float in parades around the state for maybe 10 years.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I think it's been decommissioned. I'm not even sure of that. It may be in storage here somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's but yeah, once it got going, there was a lot of excitement in the community, and like I say, a lot of articles in the Bay City Times. There were articles in some national magazines
Yeah.
that got printed. So there was a lot of publicity. The interesting thing about my career is that on July 4th, 1976,
Yeah.
everything ended
What? Why?
because everyone associated me and my artwork with the bicentennial.
Okay.
So I didn't pick up another mural until 78. There's
Okay.
2 years in there that I damn near starved to death trying to figure out what I'm going to do to make money.
Yeah.
And then I sold the idea to Frankenmuth. So at that point, Tiny Zender was willing. It's part of the deal. He wanted some murals in the Bavarian Inn restaurant, and I said I'd love to do it for you. It was murals regarding the Pied Piper because they've got that glockenspiel.
Yeah.
That Pied Piper story, and he wanted on the inside where the stairway goes up images of the Pied Piper, and I'd be happy to do it. But to do a really good job, you need to send me to Germany, to Hamelin, and I'll get some authentic images
Yeah.
and come back and use those for
Yeah.
the background.
Yes.
Well, that's what happened. And
So he sent you out.
that got started in Frankenmuth, and over the next 10 years, I had close to 200 images painted in Frankenmuth.
In Frankenmuth.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I do know a little bit about the Zenders or the Bavarian Inn because the brothers, right? The families there. So is that when you done? No, not when you're done. You said from 76 to 78. Were you still living in Bay County?
Yeah, in 78 is when I moved up
To Frankenmuth.
to Grayling.
Grayling already moved to
And
Grayling.
then,
Okay.
and then I started commuting to Frankenmuth from Grayling.
Yes.
That was a long commute.
It's like 2 hours?
Huh?
It's 2 hours?
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's
pretty close to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you painted around 200 in Frankenmuth in course of 10 years? And you painted the 52. I don't know where the 52 come from, but that's how the 52 come from. 52 in the Bay City and Essexville area. So I asked the challenge in the early stage of your mural painting, which is in Bay City and Essexville. So after you went to Germany, right? What's that journey? What's that experience add on or add into your creation? Because as artists you grow, right? Mm-hmm. So what that part of his journey meant to you in your journey of being an artist on different level? Does that help a lot of
it helped. I don't think I really, it was closer to the end of the Frankenmuth series that I really began developing a style.
So it's like 10
that
years
I
later.
would call my style, where I could take an image and render it differently than what I'm looking at, because
Yes.
I want,
Yeah, so if you use 3 words to describe your style, that time, almost when
At that time?
Yeah, that time.
What I was trying to do was to get a little more impressionistic with my style. That's where I wanted to go.
Impressionistic.
Impressionistic realism, yeah. And then since then, I've kind of moved to what I would call abstract realism.
Abstract realism, okay.
But that didn't start until I got the art gallery open. And then I really started focusing on my studio art.
So after Frankenmuth, were you still painting murals?
Yeah, I did a series of murals in Petoskey.
Okay.
I did a series of murals in Ludington. In my career, what I tried to do as a muralist is not do one-ups. Try to go in and sell the community, where I'm going to end up doing 6, 8, or 10 images in a community.
Yeah, actually that's the next question that I'm going to ask you is like, in your perspective, how does public arts, right, such as murals, contribute to shaping a community's identity and culture? Or is that something you were trying to kind of like speak through the art?
Yes. Probably not so much an overall community theme as a what will enhance, what is this particular building exposed to, who's going to be the viewer, and what do they want to see. So, for instance, in Petoskey, there's a very large, there's a grocery store.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the back side of the grocery store, which is running right along the bicycle trail that goes from Petoskey up to Harbor Springs. But that trail had a history. It started out as a bicycle trail with a boardwalk. It converted to a railroad commuter train. So we did, well, it actually started out as indigenous people's pathway between the two communities.
Yes.
So that's what we ended up depicting. You know, here's an image of indigenous people using this area. Here's the boardwalk. Here's the commuter train, and here is the bicycle trail.
So you kind of developed the history, telling the story of the involvement of
that particular stretch of land. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, because for that specific project, but when if say Bay City come here to say, hey, Terry, we would like to bring you back to kind of have a series of the murals in the Bay City to tell the story of the involvement, because, you know, would it be something that we need to incorporate, right? The history part, incorporate in the different period of time, decade. Bay City is moving. Every city is there doing that. And sometimes I feel like a mural itself can tell so many stories in that one or series of creation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But the hardest thing is for people to be able to do these things, you need to literally, this is big project because you need to stand higher and further, because each independent artist, when they create, they are thinking about this building, this owner. But when you think about Bay City itself, or you think about the family, right? If you think about just something designed for Gina versus designed for Gina's family, that would be different. So that question comes from is like, those public arts, like on different degrees shaping the community identity, because every community is different. You design for the Bay City versus you design 10 for Midland. You were like, oh, this story is matched for Bay City. This story is matched for Saginaw,
yes,
right? That's
yes.
what the question was.
And the same thing, for example, in Ludington.
Yeah.
One of the things Ludington is known for is, a couple of things. One is the ship, the Badger that runs across Lake Michigan. Another thing is their parade. That incorporates the clown band. Clown band originated in Scottsville, which is just kind of a suburb of Ludington. So one of the murals in Ludington is this whole parade theme with the clown band as the primary feature, but then secondary images around that. Another mural there is the Badger. That was an interesting project, just because I experimented with a three-dimensional mural.
Three-dimensional mural.
Three-dimensional that appears to. As you move past it, it appears to move. It's a reverse perspective.
That's very cool.
Three-dimensional mural. It gets a lot of comments. And then also, Ludington had two recipients of Ludington natives that received the Military Medal of Honor. So there was a mural depicting that. The beach area, there's a kind of a mural that would maybe look like it was a 1920s view of the beach, that kind of thing.
Yes. So another question I'm really curious is, because at the beginning you said you would try to incorporate local college students to support you, help you paint, right? Did the story change a little bit? Did you start to actually have students, or did you start training other artists to paint with you, or still that more of independent painting?
Pretty much independent, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. After that first attempt, I never tried again.
We always say first is always either
Yeah.
the worst or the best. You know, either get you on something, you'll get off something. But I just want to ask because, just, you know, as now you definitely probably have students, right, for your artwork. In one way or another way, you are teaching.
Yeah. I've been teaching some studio type thing.
Yes.
But.
Yeah, but I just want clear, because it was like sometimes you paint with other people, collaboration is a thing. You know, that's like our mural right now. We have 10 mural artists that came up 8 design, and how we, you know, pull the 8 design to be one picture. I tell people, I was like, Gina, I tell people, either you're gonna like me, either you're gonna love me, or you're either gonna hate me, because I don't know. Not say I don't know what I'm doing, but sometimes I really don't know what I'm doing. I just have a concept of collaboration in the community, right? And I was like, either you guys gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. So far we are good. So let's see how they end up. So
yeah.
Yes, painting with other people is kind of, you know, a thing. Okay, the next question is more of like, is there any artists or any art movements that have significant influenced your unique mural painting style? Is there any, you know, looking back now, what are some artists or painting style that influence you?
Probably the one of the artists that I admire considerably is Richard Schmid. I have studied his.
Where he's from? Or like what, I don't really know about artwork, so I'm gonna ask those dumb questions.
Richard Schmid has just recently passed away. He was more of an East Coast, Vermont kind of scenery.
Yeah.
He did a lot of portraits. He was an outstanding portrait artist. So, but I went to a conference out in New York just to see him, to watch him paint. But there's been other influences since then. I would have to look at my list.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
Yeah, just the thing is, we always have teacher. We always admire certain people's work, and we try to, we definitely influence. If you like kids, if they read a certain books, like my daughter right now, I never get it right. It's called a graphic novel or something. Graphic novel, or we call it like comic books. She's like, no, mommy, that's not comic books, because she's just so into that, and she draw the picture. You can tell she's influenced by the book she was reading.
Yeah.
Yes. So the next question is, no, this one is hard, okay? Sometimes we proud of our work, right? But also sometimes certain work you're like, actually I was not really, maybe I didn't do a very good job. So when you're looking back, can you recall certain moments you particularly feel proud of yourself? Because think about it, you're looking back, how many murals, like we're just counting that 200, 250, and we didn't even count the Petoskey, and then, the other places did a mural. So is there any moments of your life you look back and it's like, whoa, Terry, you did a good job?
What's interesting is that moment generally happens 5 to 10 years after it's done.
Why?
And I accidentally walk into a place, let's say accidentally. I don't remember having done a mural in this place, and and I will walk in and there's a mural that I've done, and I stand back and say, damn, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And I've had that experience several times, because I've done murals in places that I've long forgotten that it was just a restaurant that wanted a wall done, or
you just lost track by years.
Township Hall. There's Shelby Township Hall has 3 or 4 murals.
Okay.
And and I walk in there and it's like, that worked.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
But in the moment, it's like, oh my God, I'm done. It's more that feeling of having gone through this process, it's completed, I'm going to move on to the next one. It's not until I come back that I can really appreciate.
Yeah.
I was just back down in Frankenmuth earlier this year, because they have a park where they have a band shell, and I painted the inside of the band shell. A rather simple design. It's a violin, some musical instruments, and so forth. And I hadn't been back there in years, but the committee kind of wants it touched up before I'm completely out of the picture, and getting into my 80s. That's probably not that far away, but so and again, walk down there, and it was 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And look at it, and I'm very pleased with the design and the way it's held up very well.
Yeah.
It doesn't need a whole lot of touch up. Yeah, it could take some work, but it's a nice piece of work.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine if I did 300 murals. I don't know how many I can remember or how many people remember what I did. You know, it's kind of like you can literally put a book of all your mural design all in one. But that's what that's what I'm trying to do, is just like every mural artist that worked with us, their design, we're going to put in a coloring book.
And that's a really good idea, because I did not keep track.
Because you lost track after after I interviewed 50 people, I don't know.
A couple of times, I had images on my computer, the computer crashes, the images are corrupted, there's no way to recover them. So they get lost in the technology.
Yes.
Because I didn't print them off physically and put them in a binder.
Yeah, now that's what we are trying to do too.
Yes.
We want the kids to just coloring, because that time maybe you use the different color to make that picture, but the kids are super creative, and I was just want to let them to choose a color, maybe it will be turned out differently, and a coloring book can reuse. And then how can people to remember the artwork is by give the young kids, they're like, oh, I see this picture before, they plants it in their head, right? So do you still paint mural?
Yes, but not
that much.
Not at the frequency that
not as active as before.
Yeah. I still have some requests. Right now, I'm probably better known for the studio work than I am for the murals, because there are people that call and want to design. Yeah,
I'm going to touch on the studio work in a little bit. Here, okay, so when you're looking back now, okay, because the question asks you why you still paint a mural, because you're still in it, right? Let's say 50 years, literally 50 years. When you're looking back, how do you feel those appreciation from the public for the public arts? Like, do you see because I can't, because you went through the 50 years, the 5 decades, you're like, Gina, back that time, people reaction was this, but when I witnessed the history, you're like, so can you give us a little bit brief of what you, from your perspective, from your observation, how's public appreciation for the public arts?
There was, when I started, there was a real strong interest in public art and murals. That did die away probably, I'm going to say, in the late 80s.
Yeah.
There was a period there where I did very few. And then, but it kind of depends a little on the community. What I found for me is if I, like Petoskey, there was a lady there, she owned a flower shop. Again, it was another large piece, it was 120 by 25. And she wanted something done with that wall.
Yes.
Well, once that was done, then, even before it's done, people stop by and say, hey, I want you to take a look at a wall that I have, and then I want you to take a look at this. So whether that was a national trend at that point, I couldn't say. But once I introduced myself to a community, it generally spread.
Yes.
6 or 8 or so before it kind of, okay, we saturated that market. It's time to move on.
Yeah. But later, do you still feel like that if, in the community, like the same this effect if you start from somewhere and other people will come to ask, and then, so still in the last couple of decades, you can tell still people are very interested in the public arts. Is that what you think?
I haven't had that experience probably in the last 15 years or so.
Well, last 15 years also is crazy of a lot of other form of arts. Okay, like social media was crazy developed in the last, when I got a cell phone 20 years ago, probably almost 20 years ago, right? But like last 15 years, I feel like, when I moved to the United States, I remember the phones doesn't have GPS yet. So that was 13 years ago. So we were literally talking about this technology being developed. Everybody's phone, like, you know, more focused on, oh wow, it's a lot of picture, image. I can Google anytime, search anytime. I feel like our intention or attention actually being drawn to the phone instead of looking the community. People doesn't even the people don't care. People don't really notice what's their corner change.
Yeah,
right?
they'll walk right by something.
Yeah, or they are driving still or watch YouTube. Sometimes I have road trip. I'm like literally because I don't want to sleep, so I put YouTube on. But you think about last 15 years is also about the society. But now I feel like after COVID, COVID hit us pretty good. And in the last 2-3 years, I feel like people are because COVID, we are in our own space, isolated. Now, like people start to want to go out there, explore more now, I feel like. And I feel like last 2-3 years, the public arts has been developed very fast to my observation, because how many murals out in Midland, Saginaw? I didn't count, but I can constantly see the posts coming up. And Flint, Flint is also very, you know, ahead, and also Detroit and Grand Rapids and Holland, or those places, and the different communities. It feels like start those like grants. They have those grants and have the artists to submit their work. So I feel like, you know, we are at another, you know, growth part of the public arts, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm also here too. So next question is like a funny question. Okay, fun one. If you can recall, what or where or what is your smallest mural, and what is your largest one, or size-wise, or do you remember your smallest and then the biggest?
Smallest.
It's hard. You're like searching in your memory.
Yeah, smallest. I'm not going to be able to.
You probably remember the biggest one, is it?
Yeah, but there's really three over the years. There's really three.
Yeah. That
are in that range of 2 stories by 100 to 110, 120 feet. One in Bay City that we were talking about, the first one. And then the one I was just talking about in Petoskey. And then just recently, just a couple years ago, did one about that size in Frankenmuth for the Frankenmuth Fudge Kitchen.
Fudge Kitchen. Is it on the main street?
It's on the alley side of the building that houses the Fudge Kitchen.
Okay.
It's on the alley side.
Yeah, Frankenmuth has a lot of murals. I'm wondering, is that a lot from you?
Most of them are mine. There is Hargash is another artist that is local to Frankenmuth, and he's done several of them, but the majority of the images are mine.
So this one is also a funny question, okay? You can choose not to, because I think it's funny. This is not funny, it's fun. It's like, you know, if people know who to find a paint mural, people probably will refer to you. So how do you feel, because you are so good, about the other artists, the opportunities? That's why I was like, I'm just for fun. Like, how do you feel about that? Because the competition is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Especially you're like, if you put your portfolio, tell people I did 500 murals with somebody paying 10, I'm like,
yeah.
How do you see that?
Well, if the artist is good, I appreciate their work. At the same time, if it's mediocre work, it's like, damn, you know. I had an incident actually on this building, and I don't know whether you noticed the murals on the outside of this building.
I will check it after our recording.
I had originally painted these 5 panels, and then I lived out of state for 2.5 years, and during that 2.5 years, there was another artist that came in and painted over what I had painted. Now, if it was good art, not a problem, but it wasn't. It was really somewhere below mediocre.
But doesn't it need to be somebody approved to paint that picture before it's painted?
Well, the building owner.
Okay, before you have this building, or you already had this building?
No, this is way
Okay,
back.
I know what you're talking
You
about. I
know.
was like, who can pitch you
Yeah,
on your own
yeah.
building?
So when I came back from Arkansas
Yeah.
and saw what was done, I immediately talked to the owners because I knew them and said, "You got to let me repaint those. That's terrible work out there." You know, I didn't really say that because I don't like to disparage other people's work.
Of course.
But I did say it would be nice to be able to bring it back to the original work. And they did give me permission to repaint it. But like I say, if it had been quality work and somebody gets confused and thinks I did it, I don't have a problem with that. But if it's really bad work and people get confused and think I did it, I have a problem with that. You know, that's a problem.
Okay, so next one is a fun question too. I like to have fun questions because it kind of shows through different angle to show the personality. So the first one, actually going to ask you, if you use 3 words to describe yourself, what would that be?
Yikes. That would be one of them.
Why? I love your spirit.
Oh, yeah, 3 words.
Yeah.
Let me use one as a phrase.
Okay, yeah.
And that is a dedication to quality.
Yep.
I really, even during the growth stage when I was learning, my mantra to myself was, let's say you commissioned this piece and I'm working on it. I'm no longer thinking that I'm trying to please you. I'm working on this mural trying to please the next customer that wants something. So I've got to do this mural better than I did the last one in order to attract a higher paying client in order to build my career. I have to be looking ahead. So you get the benefit of his quality because I just have to work on that trajectory. So that commitment to quality is just one of the hallmarks.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I'm always a learner. And I can't stop learning if I want to progress in this business. I can never have arrived. There is no arrival point, which is very frustrating about an art career. Is that it's never
Ending. I
never
think in
completed.
life generally is like when you reach to or arrive at a certain mountain peak, you realize there's other peak out there that we always can improve. And I think that actually it doesn't matter is artist or whoever in their career, in their area, that actually make them a humble person, be respectful too, because you are not saying, I'm here, I'm the best. No, I'm like, I don't know what is best, but I'm always better every day, right? Like every single mural, you want to be better, you know, for the next, prepare for next one. That's the attitude of like never ending. Life is never end. Even though we die, we never end still.
And I can deeply admire what other artists can do without feeling like I want to do that. And a really good example is right over my shoulder. This is colored pencil work. It looks like photography.
Yeah, I was actually wondering.
Yeah, it's colored pencil. Wow. And I can admire that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to, my goal is not necessarily to achieve that level of photorealism. I want my work to be more abstracted, but impactful. I want people to look at it, admire it, yes, but at the same time, there's there's a different quality that I'm striving for.
Yeah, it's like the same thing about when we do podcasts, right? A lot of people was like, you know, how do you feel other people have party? I was like, go have the party. Even you name the same name, I will not be afraid of that, because the thing is, I'm already fundamentally different from you. So even though we are painting the same picture, or even we do the same podcast to interview you, same name, come to interview you, I can guarantee you 100% that that's a different feeling vibe, because you are unique, only one of you in the world. I only have one of me in the world, right? So that I have, but also every time I do podcasts, I always want to be better to the question, prepare, and how can I interact with my guest is something I can improve instead of, you know, of course I admire, I want my sound quality to get there, I want my picture quality to get there, but the thing I know that it was not my focus right now. I'm focused on the content going there. Okay, so next one is, let's talk about your current like work. You talk about your studio work, right? So how many years ago you started the studio work? Do you have the two buildings at the first place, or you started there first, or start here first?
We
There.
started there.
Okay.
Yeah, and when we opened that gallery, prior to that we had art organization in town that was small,
Yes.
probably typical of a small northern community.
Yeah.
And then we got a new president for the local community college,
Yeah.
and he became concerned about the demographics in his 5-county region.
Yeah.
And the concern was that the fastest depleting demographic was young professionals.
Yes.
That's his student base.
Yeah.
So he's seeing the college going out of business if that trend continues.
Yeah.
So he began talking about art and culture as an economic driver for a community. The concept had never occurred to me. You know,
Yeah.
we're doing little art shows,
Yeah.
but not as a primary economic driver. So at that time, that building used to be a Ben Franklin, and it had closed. It had been closed for 9 years. It was in terrible shape. And the people that I was talking to at that time, that we really needed to take that building over and turn it into something. And that's too big a project. We can't do that. And I persisted. They went in a different direction. And we got it done. It was not pretty. Particularly when it started, it had a drop-down acoustical tile ceiling.
Yeah.
The floors had been ripped up, and the floors are still the original floors. It's just the old, what was under the tile.
Yes.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
a tile floor. So it's evolved over the 10 years. But even with that, we started out we opened up in 2011 on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
So from the end of May, 1st of June,
Yeah.
a half a year, we did $50,000 in sales. And the next year we did over 60,000. And then the next year it was up to 80,000. We're now doing over 200,000.
A year. Yeah.
That, for a community this size, is unheard of.
Yeah. So what is the success? Like, what would you say, you know, what made it so successful?
We pay attention to quality.
See, your quality, your top three, you just gave me two. I need one more. You say your dedication to the quality, and learner, always a learner, so we are missing the third one. My mom going to come
The
up
third
with
one was yikes.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Why yes?
It's a let me call it a summary of people's reaction
Yeah.
to what we've been able to accomplish.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, it is amazing that a 1,500 population in the county, we started out with a 5,000 square foot building and now have bought a 6,000 square foot building. We're in control of 11,000 square feet of art and culture
Yes.
in a 1,500 population.
Yeah. How even?
Yikes!
Okay.
How do you do that?
I know. That's okay.
And I don't know the answer to how it happened. One of the things it required was humility. I cannot go through this community and brag about, quote, what I have done. I haven't done it. I have inspired, I have been able to inspire people to do what they're capable of doing, and it all comes together. When we, and a part of that example is when we're, okay, this is a $275,000 investment. For a small organization, that's a big nut to crack.
Oh yeah.
Took a little while to persuade the board to move forward on it, but okay. So we set a goal of raising $50,000. And we're going to do this over a period of 1 month. 3 weeks into it, we've raised $75,000.
Wow.
It's
Just in the community? Just in the community? Or from?
let's say that the community covers most of the states. This show is 17 different states, 2 Canadian provinces, 86 zip codes. I haven't gone through those donations, but I would say that our donations for that $75,000 would have pretty much the same demographics, at least 15 or 16 different states. I don't know how many zip codes. A couple of foreign countries. We had a 5,000 donation from Portugal. So it's the reach that we've developed is astounding.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that's why I'm quiet, because I'm like computing the math in my brain.
It's partly location. We're on I-75 at the primary exit for people to go to Torch Lake, Elk Lake, Grand Traverse Bay, under this traffic light on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you could add up the checkbook balances of the people traveling under this, it would be over $1 billion a day that passes through this community. And nobody in this community comprehended that. It's here.
How did you choose this spot? You are such a genius man.
It became available.
Yeah.
But I've been looking at this building for over 10 years, waiting for it to come on the market.
See, always step ahead of yourself.
Yeah, yes.
I think that's...
Because this building, once we get the new storefront on, because they're going to tear off what's here, restore it back to the 1920 vintage, it's going to have a huge impact on southbound traffic. When they stop at that light, oh my God, what's going on in Grayling?
Yeah, wow.
And it's going to pull more and more customers off the I-75 loop. But that's where, and also the fact that we've got Higgins Lake and Holton Lake, Lake Margaret.
We all need to pass by here?
Just right here in this community, and then the 2 premier trout fishing rivers are only 3 miles apart before one goes east and the other goes west.
The location, huh? Location.
And there is in the community what I would call a Grayling inferiority complex, that a large part of the community has difficulty seeing that potential.
I mean, if you don't tell me that, I would never imagine that, Grayling location in such
because Grayling itself, 80% of the community of Grayling is rentals, underserved, low income housing, 80%.
Wow.
The lakes and the rivers that are outside of the city boundary is where the money's at.
Well, you did it very successful. Are you doing some successful thing to draw right from the sales? You can tell that you're doing something right. So you mentioned something about inspire other people to do what they could do, right?
Yes.
And I think this question is kind of related to answer that part is like, what are some advice, actually like two parts question. Part number one is how you inspire other people, especially young artists, to do that they might not see that they could do, right? And the second one, what are some advice for the young artists when they just start up? Because everybody went through the early stage, right? That's two questions, but you can combine them to answer them.
One of the things, my philosophy in approaching people and situations and so forth, if somebody comes up with an idea, my first answer is always, yes, we can do that. And then the second part is to figure out how. But I just refuse to start a conversation with, that's going to be really hard. No, that part of the conversation is miles down the road. The first part of the conversation is yes, that can be done.
So you want to encourage other people that actually that it's a potential, but let's now figure out how to get to what you see.
Yeah. And then the second part of that is, particularly we're volunteer driven, and with our volunteers, is to choose the right people for the right job and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
So that when they start doing what they want to contribute, it's their contribution. I'm not hovering over them saying, oh, no, you need to do it this way, or you need to do it that way. Even if it's, in my mind, wrong, it's like, they'll find that out.
Wow.
They will invest in themselves a lot more energy than they will invest in me.
To listen, right? So from when is that from beginning you start this nonprofit, because I just started my nonprofit, and I 1,000% agree of choose the right people for the right thing. But I realize it's very hard at the beginning because people don't really see the vision that I try to bring down. Then it's harder to, it takes a lot to watch people do the wrong thing, figure out on their end. But I feel like at the beginning of my nonprofit, or right now, I cannot afford doing that because every single mistake probably gonna reroute us to a dark hole for me to pick up the energy. It took me a lot.
Yeah. The story, I don't know whether this answers your question or not, but the story that, and I've there's several stories. Stratford, Ontario. Have you ever been there?
Nope.
There are very few school districts that have not, at one time or another, sent a busload of students to Stratford, Ontario. Shakespearean plays, that whole thing. Stratford, Ontario was in the business of building steam engines when train engines shifted to diesel. Stratford, Ontario went down the tubes in a heartbeat. One man, and I can't remember his name, I wish I could. At one time I knew his name, but I'm getting old. One man had a vision. The name of the town, Stratford. He went to Stratford, England, and hired the very best Shakespearean producer that he could find that was willing to move to Canada. Set up tents and started doing Shakespearean plays. That whole community has grown around culture of drama.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not just Shakespearean anymore. That's where I went to see Phantom of the Opera. Grayling, well, one more story. San Antonio. Have you ever been to the San Antonio River Walk?
Where? That you mean?
In Texas, San Antonio,
No.
Texas.
Yeah.
That was the vision of one attorney. And he took his office and bought a piece of property on the riverfront,
Yeah.
and for 20 years preached that vision before it took off. And San Antonio Riverwalk is a national destination.
I think I get the message. Keep going.
You know, so
Yeah.
in Grayling, we're still pretty small. Right down at the end of this block,
Yeah.
there's 18 acres of waterfront property that is in the hands of a man who has no vision.
I love how you say that.
And he's a year younger than I am, so he's 80.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to die. And at that point, that property is going to come up for sale. And when it does, I want Artisan Village to buy it. I want to turn that into a cultural, 18 acres of cultural concept with a state-of-the-art performing arts center surrounded by a high-end condo housing.
Yeah.
It's doable.
That's what
It only takes money, but money is the least of your problems.
I think
It's
when
the idea
exactly.
that drives it.
Yeah, talking about vision, I do believe that, you know, from the things you been, you know, how you represent yourself in the community, how you walk your own way, you know, when the time comes, I don't think there will be any problem because you already did so much hard work and putting a lot of your lifetime effort in it, you know. So I hope that day, you know, let me know. I will be definitely the big vision. So my big vision of one of things, because nonprofit is the one thing I do. I do healing work. I do podcasts. So for the healing work, my vision is have the land to create a, you know, say healing center. I don't want to say healing center is a conscious community, but incorporated with community garden and healing and a horse and other things because that's something that my vision. But the thing is, guess what? I have so many steps for me to get there. Like that's probably 12 step. I'm like at step number 3.
Yeah.
So I need to honing on that vision for quite a while for me to get there, and then that's okay. And then, you know, yeah.
And one of the things you have mentioned on a couple occasions is being amazed at how the universe unfolds itself.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've been looking at this building for over 10 years. It comes on the market. I'm in my office over at the other building, and a gentleman walks in and says, "If you ever want to buy another building, I've got some money I need to park." And I said, "How about $275,000? You got it." It was that quick.
I think that's the order being fulfilled. It was that moment because you already placed that order for 10 years. I always tell people is that what you want is already yours, but the thing is, it takes a little bit of time to be delivered, just like Amazon package, right?
Yeah.
When you say what I want, that universe, yes, I grant you, but it's not on your timeline.
Yeah.
It's on its timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what's the timeline to deliver that
And
part.
what's also interesting about that story, he is not the person who ended up financing it.
Why? What happened?
There were some conditions in the financing that I didn't agree to.
Yeah, but the thing, if people willing to offer that, you know, that give you the confidence. It's like,
Yeah.
you want to offer that?
And here's the rest of the story.
Yeah.
On the day that the first financier and I realized we were not going to come to an agreement,
Yeah.
that was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I walked into Golf League, and one of the other golfers I know has a lot of money, so I just, you got $275,000 that you want to park? I'll get you 7.5% on it. Let's talk. And that's the guy that financed it
Wow.
within 2 hours.
I need to go golf with you. Frank told you are super sharp and you kicked his ass. And I went to the beginner golf thing the other day. Oh my goodness. And my hands get hurt because I'm not used to those things.
Oh, yeah,
you know, and I was after we played 9 holes, right? And I was just swinging after other teammates. Oh my goodness. And later I was like, oh my goodness, this is such a exercise. And it takes a lot of patience and practice.
Oh gosh, yeah, golf is a terrible game.
Yeah, I tell people it's a terrible game because I
It is. Somebody very sadistic thought that up.
I was like, why people willing to put 3-4 hours and all there and like, you know, something. But I feel like as I'm growing much older, the patience part is definitely coming into my life. You know, I have 2 little ones, be more patient. But, oh my goodness. See, this, my camera is also down. So here, I think we have lost the 2 questions here is talking about the advice part. You know, what are some advice for the young artists that come to the world right now? Like, you know, on their journey, what are some, you know, words you could give to them? If there are 3 advice, what are top 3 advice you want to give to them?
Just 2 things. Always be humble about your work.
Yeah.
I've had one of the biggest put-offs talking to an artist
Yep.
is to have that artist talk about himself as if he's the best artist there is.
Yep.
That kind of arrogance
Yeah.
just deteriorates the artwork.
So be humble, right?
Be humble.
Yeah.
And the second is never quit learning. You can learn something from every piece of work you look at.
Yes. And any number 3? Oh, I love the number 3 for some reason. It's like 3
Okay,
things.
let me think of number 3. I don't know, but anyway, and stay with it. Tenacity. There are times when it's easy to give up, and that tenacity that gets you through that next learning stage that is so damn frustrating. One of the things about art is that there are mental ruts in your brain. And you can take an outstanding workshop and you can learn some outstanding techniques, and within 2 weeks you're back doing it the way you always did it.
Yeah.
It is so difficult to get out of that rut and actually begin executing something new, something different, something.
Yeah, if you want to change the way how you function or how you behave for decades, you know, you realize you need to change. It's really hard because you don't even to think, you already do that way.
Yep.
To intentionally change the way you behave, it's take a lot of practice. You're gonna fail a couple times or many times until one day, like because you retrain yourself.
Yeah.
So that.
Well, I was talking to one of our artists, this is maybe several months ago, but she brought in a painting that I really liked. It was one of, in my opinion, it was one of the best paintings she'd done. And I made that compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, I really don't like it,
Yeah.
was her reaction. And the reason she didn't like it is that old critic, in the rut critic, is saying that's not your artwork. That's not the way you do artwork. That's not good.
Yeah.
It was great artwork. It just wasn't her traditional style, and she couldn't get her internal critic to accept a new style.
To see the things from different lens
That's hard to do.
Oh yeah, it's
That
so hard.
voice, that critic voice inside is so loud It's hard to silence.
So now back to, if I not allow my internal critic voice to, talk me down of the things, the vision I'm doing in this nonprofit, the question is, what are some advice you for me or for us, the nonprofit, that we bring the public arts back to Bay City? Is there any advice for us? Because I'm literally learning from the first project. I don't even call myself mural artists. I just have heart to bring the public arts back to the area. So what are some advice you have for us, United We Go, when we bring public arts back to the area? Because, your 3 sentences of summarize, guess what? You're going to save me 3 to 5 years of go. Because that's why I like to talk to people, because sometimes I ask questions. So share with me, how's your first couple of years? Literally that in our conversation, I would say save me probably 2 or 3 years of learning curve. So any advice, we are open for it. I'm open for that. Learning, right? Keep learning. So
Yeah.
What are some do's? What are some don't do? Just as a nonprofit organization, now it's very different, right? From as independent artists to their time to bring the artwork.
I'm not sure I can answer that in a meaningful way.
Or you just wish Gina, say, hey Gina, that's 3 things that.
When part of it, part of it is a balance between you have a vision, and in the midst of heading toward that vision, you're getting input as to other people's vision. Sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it's detrimental.
Yep.
And you have to sift through that. And yes, we can incorporate a piece of what this person said, and it fits, it harmonizes with my vision, but this is out of harmony. This is going to throw us off track. I can't. Thank you for the input. Thank you for your ideas, but I can't go there. That's gonna derail where I really need to go. And you, as a single individual that's holding that vision, have to be able to discern the difference between those 2 things.
Discernment, balance.
And it's not always easy.
No, it's not. And that's the thing I tell people, that if it's so easy, I'm not going to do it. Because it's difficult, that's why the challenge, the growth.
Yeah.
But not saying I tend to put myself into a situation I'm fully not in control. That's not what I'm saying. But saying is that it's possible to bring people to the unity by honors the diversity. That's, like your artisan village, I don't know how many artists the work is here, but somehow the way you display it, the way you organize it, it seems like it's if people don't ask where art will come from, they could think that you guys produce, or because nobody really asked, it's more of their visual was like, oh, this is a harmony. They feel harmonized. And that's, I feel like the essence of my work, or any work in healing, in podcast, in nonprofit, is the honor the diversity, but bring to the unity, but honor, the harmonize individuals' uniqueness, but allow them to stand out. Just like flower, you go to the garden, you don't just see one flower, right? You just see all kinds of different flower, trees, plants. That's my vision of people get along, people get closer, bridging the gap between different generations. Because through those storytelling too, allow people to, after how many years, right? People to understand who you are, what's your work, and what you are doing in your life. I think it's very necessary, just my personal understanding. And it's through those community like Unite We Go. That's why the name Unite We Go is unite people, so we go together. But I'm not telling you are better, you're worse, because people are growing. The 3 years ago version of you versus 3 years later version of you is definitely different. So can we honor everybody is on different paths, but we still can move, as a collective. So that's something that, what do we do? But I take that advice, you're right, the balance of things and discern, and also say no, how to say no to people, even though, right? honor. Don't take personal. I always tell people, don't take personal. It's not that I don't like your work. It's because it's not about that. It's because this part of the thing doesn't match the picture we are creating this time. But next project with different story, because we go project by project. Is there anything else? Oh, before that, would you come back to Bay City if we invite you out? So maybe, be part of, help us initiate the project or something like that, or, invite you back to Bay City. I don't know, now this project or what, but I just want to see, are you willing to come out again, just like, be the community, support us?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. I have no problem sharing whatever experience I've had, if it helps, and I have no problem sharing that experience and having it put in the trash can.
The answer is always yes. Let's see.
yeah. So the answer is yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah. Do you have anything else you would like to share with the audience? Either your artwork, Artisan Village here, or something in general that you want to share with audience.
I think I probably covered as much as I need to. This whole what I was telling you about the 18 acres at the end of the block.
Yeah.
That's probably the first time I've said that out loud.
So mark that today, August 28th.
Yeah.
As have you ever heard of the talk into the existence? So sometimes you gotta talk about this idea with the people or person you kind of vibe with. You're like, hey, I always tell people, say, hey, if I tell you something, I will make it happen. It's just not today, tomorrow. But if I say that, I'm gonna manifest into life.
Along that same line, I do that. I think some people hold their ideas too close to the chest.
Yeah.
And consequently, it's not out there, and people are not picking up on it.
Yeah.
When we first began to see this building as a reality, I talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
Partly because I wanted to see the look in your eyes, and if I see people getting, oh my God, that's a great idea.
You're adding to the...
Yes, we're adding energy to the idea.
Because now they know, they're like, wow, that'd be great. So if you have like 100, 200 people, I think it's great. Oh, you're gonna bring it into here faster than...
And then one of the ideas I have here is I would like to see a community choir.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned that just whenever it comes up in conversation. At some point in time, I'm going to say that to the person who is thinking, I would like to create a community choir. And that's going to click, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know who that person is. I don't know the skill set of the person that just walked through the door. But that may be the person that needs to be said to.
Well, sometimes it's a plant seed. A lot of time in my life, and not as say how old I am, but I see how universe put people in your life, but they don't just drop in that moment. Some people of you work with, you already know 5 years ago, but that time, or you or that person were not working on this project. You just meeting each other in your parallel life. But the thing is, when you are talking some ideas, like sometimes I meet people for coffee, you're like, can you believe 5 years ago I met you in this meeting, and at that time I was doing this, now we are talking about this project. So the person you manage for is already all there. It's just sometimes how the people at perfect timing, again, universe it's not our timing, at the right time, the people gonna meet, gonna click, the puzzle piece are all there. But when those two puzzle pieces put closer is because other puzzle pieces already kind of form some shape, and those two puzzles click right away. So it's kind of magical. Like that's why every day I'm like, I want to see how universe can bring people, things, connection to my life, because I just want to show up. My job is show up. How it's going to manifest, unfolding, like this interview today, I had no idea until now. Like we know how it unfolded, right? So it's super beautiful. So To kind of close this podcast, I really want to thank you, and I really want to thank a few people. Alan, right? Frank and Chris. Actually, Chris is first person brought the Mural City back, and then after a couple months later, literally probably 3 weeks before this interview, Alan made a comment on Facebook post, and then I met Frank. Then here I am today. So I want to thank all those people who actually they are my guides to bring me to meet you, because I'm already all there. You always are there, but I had no idea how to find you.
Yeah.
So we connected, and we are here to really thank your time as well. I know you're very busy. I know you're a creative person. So, and I want to thank everybody bring us to make this interview happen. And if you guys in the area in the Grayling, right, and you guys' address is 122 or what's the address?
The address here is 122.
Yes. Funny thing is my old house is 122.
Really?
So when I saw that, I was like, I can't remember this address because my house was 122,
Yeah.
So it's 122, what street?
Michigan.
Oh my goodness, this is so easy.
Michigan Avenue.
122 Michigan Avenue in Grayling, right? There's 2 buildings here and beautiful coffee shop in it. And if you guys are in the area, definitely come to check out. And I just want to say thank you for your time for this beautiful interview.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. Perfect. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Unity Through Diversity. I will see you in next episode coming soon. Take care, and I love you.